And next on the track, obviously the creme de la creme of the evening. This is the men's distance medley relay, the pro edition. And we have got a wonderful lineup here. 3 teams are eyeballing the world record, Dan, or I guess they call it I guess it's a world record, not a world's best, of 9:15:50. We've got 3 teams. The Wannabes, it's kind of a combo of people who train with different groups. Includes Mac Franks, Tristan Heineke, David Timlin, and Clayton Van Dyke. The DMR All-Stars, they're going to be in lane 2. That's former Oregon All-American and U.S. Road champion, and actually two-time U.S. Indoor champion, Sam Prakel. We'll also have Sam Ellis on that, Kieran Lum, and Will Laird. That's the DMR All-Stars. Then out in lane 3 is going to be the Brooks Beasts. No strangers to these Oregon relays. Danny Mackey always brings his teams down here to Hayward Field. Got Brannon Kidder, Brandon Miller, Isaiah Harris, and Henry Wynne.
Well, Rob, what's interesting about this, I'm looking at these lineups, and I wonder if they're going to hold true to these lineups and the different places that they're running these guys. But it looks like the Brooks Beasts, that's just nothing but a group of 800-meter runners. And so it's like, all right, but then the other teams are lacking pure 800-meter runners. But I guess, these guys, they have so much range and they're so good. They can run 1,000 meters. They can run 1,500 meters. And if you're a good 1,500-meter runner, you should be able to come down and run a solid 800. But there you see Sam Prakel, and gave me some of the best advice ever as an announcer of college track and field. He said the guy who makes the move last in the NCAA 1,500-meter final is usually the guy that wins. So you want to be the guy who makes that last. So thank him for that advice.
Well, and we also have Travis Thompson down there on the inside running with the baton, but he's really just going to be the guy getting out there and trying to rabbit these guys. Travis Thompson, a 148 guy back when he was at Oregon, continuing to train post-collegiately. Brannon Kidder, he's run this year even under 3:53 for the mile. So has been a great 1,200-meter runner on other DMRs. He's certainly run this at Penn or Drake and other places. Sam Prakel, just a consummate mile 3,000 guy. And then Mac Franks on the tail end there. So Travis will be taking him through, I'm guessing, at least 600 meters. So 57 point. So pretty conservative really here, Dan, on this initial 400. We'll see how these guys ultimately treat that. They might come home pretty fast.
Well, and this is a pretty incredible scene in this infield right now. We got fans completely around the track. And the lights going on and off. Boy, these guys have got to concentrate just on their lane and the person in front of them. The slightest misstep here in one of these dark areas could take them out of the race here. But look at them moving. They are really clipping along at this point.
And Brannon Kidder, your current leader, All-American and Big East champ, Big Ten champ, when he was at Penn State. Prakel, an All-American while at Oregon.
Well, and I think what's fun about this, Rob, is you see all these athletes who just got a chance to run that DMR. They stick around and they get to see how it's done, and they see the difference, the tempo difference, and the speed and the power that these professional athletes have compared to the high school athletes that we just saw.
Like the negative splitting already, Dan. 57.7 through the first 400, and then 56 even for lap 2. We'll see what this third lap ultimately ends up being. But I know if they're going to have any shot of doing this, they're going to have to be coming through in at least something in the neighborhood of low 250s for 1,200 meters. And what a great hand. There you go, sub 250. And now we've got our 400-meter runners. This is going to be Sam Ellis of the DMR All-Stars. He's the one in second place. And Brandon Miller, former Texas A&M athlete, now running for the Brooks Beasts. True quarter miler, having moved up to the 800 meters. He's run on some 4x400s for Texas A&M at the NCAA championship, so this guy can really move. The Beasts are really positioned well for a DMR. And just to point out that he is going to hand off to a man who was 7th at the World Indoor Championships over 800 meters, Isaiah Harris.
Well, and Brandon Miller, he needs to have a breakthrough season. He's a couple years as a post-collegiate now and really hasn't stepped up his game. But it's always a little tough to navigate that first year as a post-collegiate athlete. But Brandon Miller, it's been a couple of seasons, and we'd like to see him improve. He showed really good speed on that 400 meters right there. But one of those Texas A&M, they called it half-mile U for a really long time, 800-meter U. And think about how many good 800-meter runners came from that program. And B. Miller was one of those guys, an SEC title, NCAA championship under his belt as well.
And Isaiah Harris getting after it here. He just continues to improve somehow as he is getting finer like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better and better and better as he gets older here and placing better in U.S. and global championships. So 50.8 his first lap, pretty spicy out there. Probably not a time that he's too accustomed to going through. We'll see how well he can close out this 800-meter leg before he does hand off to miler Henry Wynne. So they do have a miler on this anchor leg here, Dan, and Henry Wynne, former NCAA indoor mile champ. You see the pain on Isaiah Harris's face, but that man always knows how to get to that finish line.
Well, he really does, and there are a lot of times when he looks uncomfortable and you see that he's hurting, but he can just continue to push, and he has such an efficient stride. It's not the prettiest stride. He doesn't get his knees up as high as a lot of some of these other guys, but man, he just scoots across the track and covers a lot of distance on every single stride.
And the handoff, clean one. Actually, probably the best handoff we've seen all day to Henry Wynne from Isaiah Harris. They maximize that entire reach. And 50.8, the opening lap for Isaiah Harris, and a 54.9. So an incredible run for Harris, 145 on that leg. And Dan, just to point out, that wave light that you see kind of about 10, 15 meters back from Wynne is the world record, I believe, the world record pace that they're actually running against.
Well, that bodes well for the record attempt at this point. Somebody needs to tell Henry Wynne, though, to take a look back there and run a little bit more scared there. For the first 200 meters, he ran real casually. Now he seems like he's getting into a little bit better, a little bit quicker pace, a little bit faster tempo.
And Wynne just continuing to run within himself. Dan, I think this might be one of the most difficult things to do, is to run a mile race completely solo. We talked about the 800, but there's still a power component to the 800 where you just got to get out there and run fast. This is where usually there's so much strategy and drafting and movement that, you know, doing this all by yourself, Dan, in lane one by yourself with your hands on the track, Henry Wynne is really going to have to dig deep to make something happen.
All right, Rob, I got to leave you now. I just looked at the schedule. They got me scheduled to interview the winner of this race, so I'm heading down. You guys enjoy the rest of the race, and I'll be back here in 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds great, Dan. Don't trip on the stairs. And Henry Wynne looking fantastic, doing whatever he can, with no doubt Coach Danny Mackey somewhere along the track here, encouraging his athlete. That wave light just starting to creep up on Wynne ever so slightly. down the backstretch. He'll have 600 meters to go. And you see the wave lights there. They do represent a world record. The Oregon relays could be something incredibly magical. Could he do it? 9:15:50 is the mark. Wynne is staring down at that light, coming down the home stretch. That is Coach Danny Mackey on the infield in that sweater vest. He's got one lap to go here for Henry Wynne. Wynne now moving a little bit, just a stride ahead of the actual wave light. What can he do down the backstretch? Will the Hayward faithful help him, elevate him, get him to that finish line? This is a world record attempt. We've talked about these ad nauseum in the past. There's Danny again. I guess that wasn't Danny in the sweater vest. That's Danny Mackey, his coach, really lighting into him. We've got less than 200 meters to go now. What are we going to see here? Past the steeple pit, past in front of the big screen. Henry Wynne, the lights are behind him. What can he do in the final 100 meters? Wynne in the home stretch. Wynne ahead of the light wave. This could be a new world record. There he is, Henry Wynne to the finish line. Indeed, he does it, ladies and gentlemen. That is a new world record. (9:14:58). The Brooks Beasts will go down in history now. They are all world record holders in the men's distance medley relay. And just want to point out there to the fans watching at home, Wynne's final lap, a 56.6. So at any point, if you thought he was starting to die a little bit, that man put it out there and he landed it and absolutely crushed it. The men's distance medley relay, you see the smiles on those faces. Those are as real as they get right here at Hayward Field at the 2024 Oregon Relays, a new world record in the men's distance medley relay, and that is now held by the men from the Brooks Beasts. Coach Danny Mackey has got to be incredibly excited for being greeted by their teammate. That's Josh Kerr, world champion over 1,500 meters. Just imagine if they had them, if they had him on this leg, what could that record have finally been? But sheer elation for those men in the Brooks Beasts. What a great day and a great way to finish up the Oregon Relays. I know we're going to hear from these athletes sometime soon. As Dan O'Brien noted, he's running down. He's going to do some interviews. But what an amazing final leg for Henry Wynne to take home the W and set an all-new world record in the distance medley relay. And you see the first handoff here from Kidder to Brandon Miller, and Miller just absolutely crushing 46.6 on that leg. And then off to the 145 split by Harris. And look how far he is ahead of the wave light, giving Wynne as much space as he can. And Wynne running pretty darn even. 57.1, 60.2, 58.5, and coming home in a 56.6. No doubt, I'm sure we're going to hear from Wynne, but it had to be the Hayward magic and the Hayward fans, the boomsticks booming, and him crossing that finish line. What a feeling. It can't be a better one in the world, knowing that you did it better than anybody else. And it's just great now, all laid out. Number one, B. Miller, feeling good. What an awesome day for the Brooks Beasts. Big day for the brand, the Brooks team, Danny Mackey, their coach, and these athletes, they get to enjoy their evening now as world record holders in the men's distance medley relay.